This talk raises the question of the role of intellectual property rights being applied to biological organisms. I'd like to address the impact this has on indigenous plant knowledge, specifically within the realm of modern medicine. Ethnobotany specifically studies the relationship between plants and people cross-culturally. Typically, research focuses on indigenous populations to gain an understanding of diverse ways of life. The field of ethnobotany has evolved from simple plant classification to broader practical applications by looking at plant use within the context of social, economic, political, and ecological systems. Researchers strive to connect Western and non-Western knowledge in effective and respectful ways. A similar area of research is bioprospecting, which is the discovery and commercialization of products based on biological resources. Bioprospecting can be benign, or it can be detrimental if ethical considerations are not adequate. Biopiracy is one example of bioprospecting that uses indigenous knowledge in exploitative appropriation without recognition or compensation of those indigenous people. This kind of bioprospecting is the most harmful. With the growth of the pharmaceutical industry and commercialization of medicines, there is an increased interest in finding new and unique remedies. Beginning with plants can be a successful avenue to explore biologically active components for healing. The medicinal use of plants is also known as herbalism, plant medicine, and phytotherapy, and has been practiced by virtually all human cultures. It is the basic premise of taking a plant substance or combination of substances for therapeutic results. Much of modern medicine is unconnected with botany, yet so many medicines are plant derivatives. Empirical evidence has demonstrated the efficacy of herbal remedies, and testing of pharmacological components can help validate usage and monitor risks. In Western medicine, an issue of plant-based medicine is the lack of quality control. Standardized formulas may respond better to illness with more palatable taste and exact dosages. Standardized formulas often involve patenting to secure profitability. One proven example of efficacy is the bark of the willow tree, with use dating back to the Ebers papyrus for alleviation of aches and fever. The active component salicylic acid has been identified and isolated into the well-known derivative aspirin. The isolation of salicylic acid was initiated in the 1800s in England, and after a lengthy process of experimentation, aspirin was available through the company Bayer in 1899. Bayer had a patent on the aspirin until the 1930s, when it became a generic drug. A patent is one form of intellectual property and requires something to be novel, inventive, and useful. It is currently prohibited to plant plants, but it is possible to patent biologically derived substances if sufficiently isolated, depending on country legislation. Intellectual property law protects the owners of an invention, which is a solution to a specific technological problem, either a product or a process. The objective is to promote progress. Today, there are huge financial incentives to have intellectual property rights. A recent example of bioprospecting is with Nestle and the fennel flower. In November 2010, the company filed for an international patent for its method of extraction of the active ingredient thymoquinone for its use against food allergies. However, the fennel flower has been used as a remedy for a variety of digestive complaints in Middle Eastern medicine traditions for 3,000 years. It is widely cultivated today across the world. The controversy is whether Nestle has an effective argument for its extraction process being novel, or if it is simply a discovery of nature. The international rights organization Some of Us claims Nestle is trying to create a monopoly on fennel flower seed. With Nestle's patent application, a larger debate is under consideration, which involves intellectual property and the role of corporations in commercializing plant derivatives. Most importantly, it is about appropriation of traditional knowledge. Today's standards on international patents are more stringent than the 1800s. Scientific literature says that Nestle has not created something inventive, and its claims for fennel flower seed have already been documented. There is even an online petition against Nestle's patent for fennel flower, and its future remains uncertain. So where do we draw the line between common use and protected property? There is a belief that biological patents are creating a tragedy of the anti-commons, where monopolies of discovery increases prices and restricts use through fragmented and overlapping intellectual property rights. Ethnobotany can help to mediate between scientific researchers and indigenous communities to ensure mutual respect and reciprocity when seeking out plant-based medicines. Importantly, it continues to address intellectual and cultural property rights of Indigenous peoples in the continuing quest for biologically derived patents for medicine. Thank you for listening.